oh, I didn't teach my kid to be racist. It's like, no, you didn't. You allowed them to participate in a racist society.
Yeah, which you also participate in. So
But
you're
you also
all
participate.
participating and you don't know that you're participating. Like that's the thing, is that you don't actually know. This is the hardest thing from what I'm grasping from the outside and from people I'm talking to, things I'm reading about other people's conversations or whatever, is that the hardest part, and this is not, and I want to also say this, it's not just for white people. Like for other people of color who are not Black, you have to look at yourself and really, really, really take a hard look at yourself and what your initial reactions to things are. You know, like, do you feel threatened when you see a Black person and you're alone in the street? Do you, like, be honest with yourself? You don't have to tell anyone. You don't have to tell me about it. But, like, ask yourself that question. That's what we're talking about. I had, like I was telling you earlier about the Facebook discussion I was having, where I said that I was like, I didn't want to say anything, and then I fucking jumped in the fucking pool. It's very emotional, right? It's very.
Well, I imagine, like, I feel emotional. I can
Yeah.
only imagine how people who aren't white must feel right
Yeah. So, and then I, being someone who isn't white, feel emotional, and I can imagine how someone who's Black feels. So it's like, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So I was on the balcony and I was like furiously writing, and when he came out, he's like, you know, you got to be careful. He's like, I see you suffering, like you're tired, you're emotional, like I see it. You have to also take care of yourself. And I was like, you're right. I was like, I know, I've been totally saying that to myself, and I've been thinking about it, and I shouldn't, and I didn't want to do it, and I did it, and I engaged. But then at the same time, I said, I feel like in this moment, I have to say something to this person. And because I wasn't being rude, or I was sharp, like I wasn't being nice, but I wasn't being derogatory or attacking her personally. So I was just kind of laying out the facts really hardcore, you know, for this person. And she didn't get it, but all these other people that are all white people on this all white situation that's happening, all these other white people were liking and hearting everything I was saying. And some even had the balls to respond and support me. And the person whose Facebook it is that this is all happening on, she fucking came on and was like, said all her shit and totally, and not defending me, but like supporting what I was saying.
Yeah.
And I actually sent her a message, and I was like, I just want to thank you so much for having the strength and the courage to speak out and defend and say these things, because white people need to do this for you. You guys need to have these conversations. And I'm really glad that you have the strength and the courage to do that. So even though that particular person I was addressing didn't get it, I know that the other people watching and listening who are maybe a little too timid right now to say something, or they don't know what to say, they heard what I was saying. Yeah. And they agreed with what I was saying. So that to me is something important.
Yeah.
And
well, maybe they're agreeing not as something they have already known. Maybe they're learning that they agree in that moment.
Exactly. We may think it matters to say something to the specific person you're saying it to, but it matters that other people are seeing that you're saying the thing and reading what you're saying and understanding what you're saying. And so, and there's lots of people out there that aren't liking or hearting or making any kind of outward expression of it, but they can hear it and they can see it. And that is what has to happen. And that is what all of us non-Black people have to stand up and do, because we cannot expect the abused to fight the abuser or educate the abuser. We can, you know, yes, the abused can fight and will fight, and they will. And I'm not saying people aren't going to do that, but we should not, that onus should not be 100% their weight. It just shouldn't. We're talking about equality. We're talking about all kinds of systemic things that all of us should be angry about.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a really good point. The abused having to educate the abuser is so difficult. Like, as a gay man, I've had to have that experience where people who have been openly homophobic towards me, I end up in a situation where I'm now having to try and empathetically explain to them about my own situation. And I'm like, this sucks.
No, it's terrible.
I don't want to be doing this.
No.
Like, read a damn book if you're interested. I don't want to talk about this with you right now. Like, I don't want this to be about how gay I am. Like, I don't feel like doing that right now. I'm having a drink. I'm having a good time.
Well, but do you ever feel like doing that? Like, I never want anything to be about how brown I am, ever. Like, I never do. Like, unless I'm doing it. Unless I'm taking a picture of myself going, look, this fucking beautiful brown bitch right here. Like, unless I'm doing it. You know, or my husband and I are doing that together, or like, we're doing that. because we're like celebrating ourselves or whatever, that's fine. But like, I don't need anything in my life to be about my brownness. Like,
Yeah.
so I would imagine you feel the same about being a gay man. Like what? Like let's do a fake conversation. So hey, Robert, like you're gay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, what do you want to know?
What is it like to be gay?
I mean, okay, so my actual response usually at this point is, I just think until you've had a dick in your ass, there's nothing that you can understand about the universe. And so now that I've done that 1,000 times with 1,000 different people, I'm enlightened.
That is the best answer ever.
I am trying as hard as I can to remember that just because I have a question about a racial issue doesn't mean that I should approach my friend of color to speak about it, because it's not necessarily the right thing for them. Maybe they don't feel like getting into it. Maybe they're not in the mental space to have that conversation. So I'm trying now to say to people, like, I would like to speak with you about something. I have a question. If you have the mental space to have a conversation with me, please let me know when.
This is the point. So if we are all here, we want to talk. We want to be open and be able to talk about things.
Yeah.
But we don't want is abuse and anger.
Like understanding how to engage someone, and
Yes.
it is possibly based in trauma for them, most likely.
Absolutely, 100%.